Hello, class. We are going to begin talking about personal narratives, and this will focus on the Ohio New Learning Standards for grades K through 5. We're looking at the writing standard number 3, write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences or events using effective technique, descriptive details, and clear event sequences. In today's lesson, we are especially going to focus on the part of the standard that is found on letter C. Use a variety of transitional words, phrases, and clauses to manage the sequence of events. Now, the essential question that we need to ask when working on this new piece of writing, this personal narrative, is what do I need to do in order to write a compelling personal narrative? So what we are going to do is to look at an example of a couple of personal narratives today and discuss what makes one more compelling than the other, what does one do well, what does the other one lack, what is good about both of them, what would you like to include in your personal narratives so that your audience wants to read and find out more about your story. So we are going to read two examples of personal narratives, and I just want you to think about what do you like about the stories, what do you think could be changed about the stories, and what would you use from these examples if you were writing your personal narrative, and what would you avoid when writing your personal narrative? The first story is called Rainy Day. One day I woke up and got out of bed. I went to the breakfast table. My mom had made eggs and bacon. I looked outside and saw that it was cloudy. How was I going to have fun without the sun? Then I saw the glue and buttons. Mom keeps them in the kitchen right next to the table, so that's why I saw them when I was eating breakfast. I glued buttons on my old shoes. Next, I read a book. It was I Love You the Purplest. It was good. After that, I made some art. I cut paper dolls. Do you know how to do that? You take a piece of paper and fold it back and forth like a fan. And then you cut out a person. Only don't cut around the edges that you want to touch, because then they will break apart. Finally, I got out my rainbow umbrella. I like it because it has all the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Roy G. Biv. I played and played in the rain. It was so fun and nice and peaceful in the rain. By that time I was really tired. It was time for dinner, so I came in and had spaghetti and meatballs with the real kind of cheese in the bag, not the grated kind that's in the green can in the fridge all the time. It was delicious. Then I went to bed. Next, we're going to read a story called Gloomy Day, Good Day. Now, you'll notice that this is very similar to the other story, but see if you can figure out what the differences are. It was a gloomy morning when I awoke, and I just knew it was going to be a gloomy day. The sun was nowhere to be seen. I didn't know how I was going to have any fun. As I was sitting at the breakfast table, something caught my eye. Mom's jar of leftover buttons. That gave me an idea. I grabbed a bottle of glue and began attaching the beautiful buttons to my worn-out shoes. It was just the touch they needed. I decided that a good way to pass the time as my shoes dried was to read a book, so I marched my stocking feet over to the bookshelf and picked out a book I hadn't read before. It was called I Love You the Purplest. I couldn't believe I'd never read it. It was a sweet story, and the illustrations were beautiful. I was inspired to make something beautiful too, and since the book was about a family, I thought I should make a paper cutout of my family. I cut carefully and colored the people to look like Mom, Dad, Lexi, and me. As I was putting away my crayons, I came across my colorful umbrella. I'd forgotten all about it. I decided to take a walk in the rain. It was so peaceful outside. I really loved splashing in the puddles with my beautiful umbrella to protect me. It turns out that just because the sun isn't out doesn't mean it has to be a gloomy day. By the time my head hit the pillow that night, I realized it had been a pretty good day after all.